comments and just a thought that's come to mind. And yes, it is a small enough area that people even know if your son wins a car. So, and we do have a fantastic community. My thought along with this is, a while back when Herbert came and talked with a lot of the city leaders, the issue was growth. What can we do about growth? And obviously we can't stop it, we can't do any of that, but we can try and manage. But the thought, his comment was, be creative to the leaders. Well, every time, and I've been to several city meetings, every time people try to be creative, we're told, the state won't let us do that, the state won't let us do that. And I'm kind of tired of hearing the state won't let us do anything. And I feel like we're kind of, that catch-22. Are there ways to put caps on growth? Not to stop it, but to make it so it's manageable. And I'm just wondering if you guys have been able to have the opportunity to have those conversations, like with the state government, or if that's something we can do, and just we're kind of stuck. They're making us grow. They're forcing us to allow these things, but we can't ask for, more infrastructure impact fees. We can't, the only thing we can do is ask a developer to donate land, and that's obviously not happening. So I'm just curious if you've been able to have those conversations, or if that's something you would be able to do or entertain that. Just a thought that's come to mind, because I know areas that they do put caps on their growth, and they have to figure out a way of who gets to build that here, but they'll limit the amount of building permits. But people can still buy and sell land and have opportunities. You're not taking away rights. Just thoughts, but just trying to kind of manage, because we all love the small community, the small schools, but with all the growth, it's really hard to do both. So just a quick thought. And thank you so much for clarifying all the questions and stuff tonight. That helps a lot. Appreciate it.
We'll take one more comment and then we'll take another break.
Pam Fredericks, 415 East, 2110 South in Huber. So thank you for being here, and we live in such an awesome community. When I first heard about this, some of the questions that first came to mind was why, and I don't know, so I'm sincerely asking, why we have to bond for an elementary with a high school. Can that be two separate bonds? And then my first thought was, why are we tearing down Midway Elementary? And this representative kind of answered that question about tearing it down and using that as a land swap. But if you've already answered this, please forgive me as well. It seems like if you're going to build another elementary, it should be, I guess, what is the capacity of the new elementary? Because if it's going to be the same as what the old elementary is, so you're not fixing any problem, you're just getting a new building. And I also understand that Midway wants all their kids in the same school. Of course, we all do. But one of these days, they're going to have to split. So we've done it in the other areas of the valley, and so they're going to have to eventually sometime have two elementaries in Midway. So I hope that's not the driving factor in that elementary as well. I think that's it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll take a break for any comments from the board.
I'd like to start off with the growth. One thing that makes America great, this is my opinion, is land rights. The school district has nothing to do with land rights or growth. We can't influence growth. We don't manage zoning, density, approvals, or anything. We take what's given. We are reactionary. We are not included in any of those discussions, nor should we. Those are discussions between the cities and the counties and the governing entities that control their own city zoning or county zoning. It's interesting to be in this valley now and seeing all the growth. At some time in the past, cities that have 200,000 people in them started our size, and they kept growing. I hope that doesn't happen here, but it's not the school district's role to be involved in growth or zoning. We just don't have a dog in that fight, and we're not permitted to do so. The elementary school in Midway, we plan on, if we do move forward with the bond, we plan on building that one a little bit bigger. We're not going to duplicate the size of the current elementary. Midway is growing. It will be a bigger elementary school. As far as the election goes, it may not be the most optimal time for the county. With the change that they've had, back to the school district's role. As a school board, our role is to provide the best opportunities for kids. We've had teachers stand up who have said that their classes are packed. We've seen this. We've been watching this for a few years now. I think our decision needs to be based on what is best for kids. Because if we don't make that decision in our roles, there's nobody that's going to make that decision. We have a front row seat to it. That's my view. So we will do what's best for kids.
With respect to the interlocal, we will make a better effort to try to be there. That is something that sometimes we do have conflicts on that night, but we'll try to do our best to be there to those meetings and give whatever input we can. As Board Member Davis said, we really just are at the mercy of the growth that's approved, and then we have to educate. And obviously, we're going to give the students the very best opportunity to be educated that we can in our valley.
Totally agree with President Baird's observation on the interlocal meeting, and it's something we can do a better job at. I just want to reiterate that there has been there's been a whole lot of collaboration with the other entities, and for, even though maybe it hasn't been, you're not aware of it, doesn't mean it didn't happen. When we first looked at this property, and by the way, this is multiple pieces, multiple owners that are being pulled into one parcel to make this work. But before there was any talk moving forward with this, we met with Heber City Planning. The Heber City Planner came to my office, and a board member or two sat in, and we discussed the merits of this site versus other sites. We've had extensive discussions with Wasatch County in the same vein. As has been mentioned, UDOT, several phone calls with UDOT. There's a UDOT official that sat in my office, again with two board members, and discussed the bypass. It should be noted that the bypass still, we've been discussing the bypass for 20 years, and nobody still really knows as to when that bypass will actually be built. And there seems to be growing sentiment against it. So for us to plan, and we did, we took into account, we worked around it, we made sure that we were in a good spot, but this is still something that's very much in the future. We like the site. We like the site because of what we hear from the people of Heber and the people of Midway. Our valley's not very big. It doesn't take much of a drive to get anywhere from point A to point B in this valley from a geography standpoint. You think this high school is in the southeast quadrant of Heber City in the valley, and this site is in the northwest quadrant. And this site is in line with all of the infrastructure that is there and ready to be hooked onto, right in that very same neighborhood. And it's just a little premature for those that have talked about putting this out north. When I went to high school in Wasatch County, they were talking about the Jordanelle Basin, and they were talking about the Jordanelle Basin having 25,000 residents. And here we are 30 years later, and it still just hasn't taken off. I think it's on the cusp of doing so, but we heard from a lot of folks, both in Heber City and in Midway, that said, do not put this high school out away from everything, or nobody will really feel like it's their neighborhood school, it's their home. And we wanted the high school to be close where folks could feel like, yeah, that's my high school. And you know, all those kids that from Midway that would probably attend this high school, they drive across Midway Lane every morning to come to this high school. And one of our experts will be conducting a traffic study, and that traffic study will tell us, in conjunction with the people that govern that road, what we have to do to make it safe and what we have to do to make it so that it works for everyone in the community. And the last item that I wanted to touch on was the donated property. I want to be very clear that we have met with those folks, and we are accepting that donation. We have every intention of accepting that property. That property is on a very steep slope. When you start considering football fields, baseball fields, all the things that have to go on a 50 to 60 acre campus in a high school, the excavation of what looks to be some very difficult quartz type rock would be very difficult. We have a scientific study done by a civil engineer that tells us those costs of excavation would be as much as purchasing a different site. So we don't really see a high school being a real great fit for this site, but we very possibly could build an elementary or maybe a different bus garage when the time calls for it, or who knows, some other smaller type of schools or school buildings that would be more of a fit for this particular site. Just wanted to make that clear. Thank you.
Just wanted to comment on the old high school girl, Stoddard, is that her last name? Sigurd? Yeah, I just think she's a great example of these kind of students that we're educating and raising here at Wasatch High. I'm very proud of her. And I'd like to say, we going forward, we want to hear your opinion. We want to hear your voice. I think that will be part of the decision on what we're doing going forward and making these decisions. And I tell you, come to our board meetings. Come and let your voice be heard, and tell your friends. Same thing.
I'd like to address on a basic level, just to keep this extremely basic, where we stand with regard to communication. So first and foremost, I'm a parent. Every member on this board is a parent with children in the district currently going to one of the schools here at Wasatch County. Second of all, I'm an elected official. This is not my full-time job. I volunteer a lot of hours on a weekly, monthly basis to be a part of the school board, which I signed up and actively ran for. So I understand exactly what I'm signed up for, and I'm learning over the last couple of years that it's a difficult job. And I would finally say that I pay taxes. I understand, especially owning 2 homes in Midway, what type of a burden that something like this will put on myself and my family. An alternative way of looking at things when it comes to communicating with individuals on this board is we're open. We're not looking to make poor decisions. We are looking to communicate at the highest level. And I'll give you a couple examples of what that is and what that isn't. Communication on the highest is give us a phone call. Our numbers are on the website. Send us an email. I've taken 2 phone calls today, and I've put another member of the community in front of one of the district directors this week to talk about their concerns. I think it's been overly communicated. Please come to our meetings. We have opportunities to discuss. We'll continue to build open forums and channels of communication through committees and focus groups throughout the summer. And we want the input. We need the input. The buck does stop with us. I appreciate the comments about drawing the line in the dirt. When you're in a leadership position, you have to make tough decisions. And building a second high school is probably one of the toughest decisions that this community is going to have to make. We all came to Heber in Midway for a reason. It's a small town. It's got a small town feel to it. When we did our demographic study, the experts came back and they were blown away with the type of growth we're experiencing. It's not occurring anywhere else in the state. They compared it to Southern California during the 90s. And they did not know what we were going to do. And they presented the information and said, we're here as a consultant for you. However, you're going to have to continue to build more schools at a rapid pace in the near future if you're going to be able to if you're going to be able to educate your students and provide them opportunities. So, what is not great communication is the consistent banter that goes on in social media about how the members of this board are dishonest, about how we make poor decisions based on buildings that were built 10 plus years ago. Every member on this board is dedicated to be a part of the solution. And we would hope that individuals, specifically individuals that have made comments, and you know who you are, that would be a part of this togetherness to work towards how we're going to work through this growth. And it is not appreciated, the type of names we've been called and the type of accusations that have been made about the character of the members on this board. I think it's extremely important as a parent, as a board member, and as a taxpayer that has been made extremely clear tonight.
I just want to make a comment on the timing of a possible election. You know, again, this is a time period of public input and look at all aspects. We would not be coming or doing this consideration for a proposal unless we felt that we are in dire need of doing something in this community because of the growth and how fast that growth is coming. And that's why we're communicating today. But we'll continue to listen and take and hear input and lead up to a decision in August of what the board will decide to do. Any other comments or?
It's just all members of the board here, even our superintendent, we're former Wasatch High guys. We've all graduated from Wasatch High School. We're dedicated to this school and the school that was before it here. And we don't want to build a new school. We really don't want to divide the community. But we want to make the best effort knowing of what we're presented with now on how to do it. And know there's a need. We have to do this. And we need help from you and comments from you on going forward with the best route.
Okay, we'll open it up to any other comments, questions.